What is up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Anti-Gravity Group podcast. My name is Braden Carlson.
My name is Taylor.
My name is Shane, or as you might know me, Postart.
And today we are doing one of our favorite things, dwelling on the past. We're going to talk about some rocket motors that are long out of production that we want to see make a comeback. And then we're going to turn to you, the lovely folks who had some input for us. But first, we've got to open up with some fan mail. I feel like I should sort of draw a line for people to understand what's going on now that we basically have two fan mail segments going on. The first one at the beginning of the episode is just about anything you want it to be. You can reach out to us at contact@aggpodcast.com, or if you're listening on a podcast provider that's not YouTube, Odyssey, iTunes, Spotify. I keep saying iTunes. iTunes doesn't do podcasts. Apple Podcasts. You get the idea. There should be a link in the podcast episode description that says send us a text message. You just tap that, send us a text, and it will come to our inbox. So we've got a couple we want to touch on, and I'm going to start with Bryce Chanis because this is a follow-up from his... it's a follow-up from a question that we answered, and I thought I had remembered something, and I did remember something. So Bryce says, indeed, in college, I designed, built, and flew a 5-inch fiberglass rocket with 3D printed ABS fins that bolted onto the side. It flew 26,000 feet and Mach 2.0 without issue. And what's cool is he sent us some pictures. So if you're watching on YouTube, you can check out his 3D printed fins that he just bolted to the rocket and then flew at Mach 2. So
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So it's so sick. Mach 2, dude. That's intense.
I didn't know about this. That's insane.
It's pretty wild. So a lot of people.
I love the like really plain screws too.
Yeah, they look like just wood screws.
Yeah, very
utilitarian. But he did design in countersinks for them, which is really nice. But yeah, there you go. So the question, I believe, was what was the biggest motor, the fastest we'd ever seen a 3D printed rocket fly, and I guess that's the bar to reach, Mach 2. So shout out to Bryce Chanis. Phil Sturka says, I would like your input on something. In the fall and winter, my club flies high power at a large farm field, but in the spring and summer, they plant, so we can't fly there. We do have a very large field, but can only fly up to mid-power. My question to you is, what would you fly as an Aerotech Reload G motor that's in, let's say, a Pro-Size Red Max or a Nike Smoke or a North Coast SA-14 Archer? Don't want to rip the fins off or go too high, but just a nice slow launch to 2,000 or so. Thanks. And you all keep up the great work. I hope to see you in Midwest Power in October. We will probably be there. I'm going to hand this one off to Taylor because the G64 is like going to be my answer all of the time. But that might be a little intense for the Pro Series Nike Smoke. I guess not.
But you also, I don't know. I guess the Pro Series Nike Smoke is pretty light. I don't know because I don't have one, but if you're limited to G motor,
they're back.
Yeah. But now I have Nike Smoke at home, so I'm not worried about it. If you're limited to G motors, which there was a period of time where I went to some low power launches, where I was just flying a ton of G motors, so. My go-to was always G64s and then the 29-120 high-power style loads, the G77 and G77 Redline and G79 White Lightning. Those are both Bates grain motors, so they have nice thrust curves.
I think the G77 is discontinued, though, now, isn't it?
No.
Oh, never mind. Don't listen to me. Oh, the G71, I think, is what I'm thinking of, maybe.
Yes, that was the Hobby line, red line.
But yeah, and honestly, this is a good application for the underloved. Is it the G53, the blackjack motor?
Yeah.
I flew a few of those in my Aerotech Mustangs when I was younger. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, I liked the Fast Jack Hobby G motors because sometimes the lack of impulse is kind of nice. You still have good thrust, but like keeping your rocket lower. And smoky motors are cool when you're up close to them, I feel like.
There is, of course, always the argument to be made that technically you could fly class 1 motors, but we don't know the club and we're not going to try and pitch that. But,
Yeah, if
theoretically,
if you aren't worried about fires, you could do the G72 dark matter.
oh yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Well, I was gonna say even like a Pro Series Nike Smoke, if you could smooth talk your way into a Class 1 flight, technically not being high power, an H97 would be super cool in that.
Or for my love of old school motors, G125, just like an explosion.
Yeah, the G138 was going to be on my recommendation list, but I don't know. That's not going to be a slow flight by any means, but that motor is cool.
Oh, was he wanting it slow?
Yeah.
Maybe for a Pro Series Nike Smoke, an F40.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Anyway.
What and then the last one, Ed M from Houston says, "Why does Odyssey Podcast list your show as a comedy podcast?" Cheers. I like
because we're hilarious.
Funny.
Huh. Interesting.
When you are uploading a podcast, you're supposed to pick 3 categories. So I believe I did science, physics, and comedy because we make ourselves laugh at the very least, and that seems reasonable enough to call it a comedy. We're just holding out hope that one day, like, for some reason, HeadGum or like some other podcast network will just be like, yeah, these guys are just funny enough. Let's give them a chance. And then when they're like, oh, 20 people listen, that's weird. No, we actually have more than 20. So shout out to everybody listening right now. Thank you so much. Please, give us some reviews and stuff.
We might have 20 people that think we're funny, judging from our live stream attendance.
Yeah, a percentage. Yeah, I'd say that's a fair assumption. But anyway, thank you guys so much for reaching out to us with the initial fan mail segment. If you have any questions,
we should come up with a name for the segments to separate them.
Well, that's kind of, it's not that different, but this is the fan mail, and then at the end, it's the mail bag.
Postart, as the unofficial producer, could you make us some sound bites of it's the AGG question of the week, something like that?
Oh man, he's getting into it. That's always a good idea to do there too, Taylor. Is really move in the mic and yell at it. That's what people want out of a podcast. Anyway, so we're gonna dip in now. We each have brought an assembly of rocket motors that are long out of production, or maybe more recently out of production, that we would like to see not out of production. And I feel like Taylor's going to have some deep cuts for me, so we're going to kick it off with him.
Well, I'm starting kind of on the smaller side of things, but this was a motor that I had the chance to fly when I was a young Rocketeer, and I really enjoyed it. But that's the G33 Blackjack for the Hobbyline case, 2940-120. That motor was nice because it had a 3-second burn. At least a 3-second burn. I don't know. And just
Shane,
nice.
Do we
smooth,
have one?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
Had a nice smooth thrust profile. And it was just one of those like what we were talking about earlier, where if you're flying at a low power type launch or a smaller field, like that was a pretty awesome motor to have, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll be honest, my list is mostly big motors, and I kind of didn't think about that until just now. But I think I flew a G33 in my Mustang as well once. All right, well, I'm going to say Postart's up next. I think Postart's going to run out of motors quickly.
Yeah,
I'll just go. Can I just add to that? I'll do the OG G40, because I know technically a G40 still exists, but I don't want to keep using my turn for low power stuff. So G33 and G40.
A paper cap G40, I believe. Still.
I know, but I'm scared to fly it because I destroyed my original AMRAM with over 100 flights flying a super old G80 in it.
Well, yeah, see, that's kind of why I'm hesitant to fly it too. But if somebody, like, you're going to be at Airfest and you have a rocket that, like, is capable of electronic deployment, I'm not going to say one you don't care about, because I know Amy occasionally listens to this podcast and so does Corey. I'm not going to advocate that anybody bring a rocket to Airfest thinking there's a decent chance it comes in ballistic. But if you have a rocket that can fly on a G40 and uses electronic deployment of some flavor, I will bring you the motor. Just send me an email. contact@aggpodcast.com. Postart?
My list is all big stuff too, and like it's all stuff I wasn't around for a lot of it, so it's just all stuff I've seen videos of. But the first thing that I have is the Cosden O10,000.
It's a classic.
It is.
I want to know how many actually.
Son of a bitch. Sorry.
What's happening?
Nigel tried to do a jump up, and it was a failed launch attempt, and he clawed the S out of my leg. So my apologies.
Nigel the Rocket Cat, ladies and gentlemen. He's saying, please go to rocketvlogs.com and buy merch. Actually, a shout out real quick to everybody that bought stickers. Congrats to Rocket Profit. He won the Wildman $200 gift card. But yeah, shout out to everybody at the bottom. We sold like 190 stickers or something like that. The stickers are still available at rocketvlogs.square.site. And if you're a Patreon member or channel member, there's a 50% off discount code for them. But otherwise, if you just want some, they're still available on the site.
And
maybe
we have some new designs coming soon.
Oh.
Yeah. So keep your eyes peeled.
All right. Well, this one's pretty on the nose. Like, there's some that are more on the nose than this, obviously, but the first one on my list is the AMW N4000 Blue Baboon. Just a powerhouse.
That was on my
motor.
list too. One of the quintessential in motors, really. I mean,
yeah. I mean,
big,
it was a
flat thrust curve. Blue Baboon is so good.
It's fantastic, and I've actually never even seen one in person, so I cry about that quite often. Yeah, we didn't all get to go to every launch as a young
Taylor's like, wow, I've seen 14 of them.
He was there for
more.
Jim Jarvis's level 3, I think, weren't you?
No, I think maybe. I don't know which Amarillo launch he did it at, the first or the
I think it
second
was the
one.
LDRS. I think it was the same weekend the contrail motor blew up.
06.
We'll have to double check that.
Yeah.
Somebody will
For some reason, because they had it in LDRS there in 2002 also.
But I don't think the N4000 existed in 2002.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
You might have been there. He doesn't even appreciate it, dude. He was like, oh, yeah. Must have forgot. I saw so much cool stuff. All right. Go ahead, Taylor. It's your turn. Do everything awesome.
So we're working our way up. I just missed these being available because this is one of the motors that died with the Aerotech fire in 01. The I-132 long burn White Lightning. It was a single-use motor, full I, 640 Newton seconds, and had a, I don't know, 5 or 6 second burn, I think.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's done it.
What
He
have I
brought
done?
up a motor that I think I know for sure Postart doesn't know about it based on the face he was looking at, but I don't think I've ever heard of this before.
Oh, they were super popular. If you watch like those like when Eric Gates was on Mythbusters, he would show up with like a case of them.
Oh, that's right.
Which is funny because at that time they were no longer available. So like I don't know
They just had a
where those
stockpile
came
of
from.
them.
Yeah, where
Well,
he's
yes,
like,
you
hey,
do.
Gary, make me some.
I feel like it was just like one of those things that Dirk was like, yeah, let me get a few cases of those.
Yeah. But I mean, sick motor. I wish there was still a long burn full eye available. because that's
Yeah,
just fun. It has enough thrust to be like a motor you can put in a normal rocket, but it's still a long burn, which is fun.
dude, let's get a long burn for the 1080 case. Gary, if you're listening, or if anybody cares to request this from
I
Aerotech
feel
on
like
our behalf.
it would be a 720 would probably be easier to get to work without a bunch of erosive burning issues.
Yeah, that's probably true. And you can still get a pretty nasty eye out of that, as we know. There's plenty of cool motors. But we're not talking about motors you can still get today.
So I had trouble with my list because, we're at this point now where a lot of CTI motor availability is sort of like questionable, to the point where it's like, I don't know if some of these motors are going to ever go back into production.
There's
so I
one
didn't really
I have.
put those on the list, but there was sort of like, for a while, I was sort of like, oh, this is the modern equivalent of the I-132, because CTI had the I-125, which is a little bit not quite as long of a burn, but it was a 5-grain moon burner full eye. And so, but now you can't get those either. And I have a feeling they're not going to come back. So anyway.
Yeah, I have a
long
motor
burn
on my
eye
list that's probably still technically available, but I've considered it out of production because it's CTI. But we'll get to that. Postart, you're up.
AMW M3000.
Yes, okay. I actually didn't put this on my list, but the Super Tiger loads are awesome.
Yeah.
I really want to fly one of those. So, in my classic reaching out from the podcast, if anybody has an AMW M3000, I'm getting kind of dangerously low on motors that are just sitting around unflown. So if you have one, reach out. There might be a transaction to follow. Yeah, super cool. Basically just causing fast propellant.
Yeah, which is also sick.
Yeah. For those who are unfamiliar with the history, Animal Motor Works was previously caused in East. So the Super Tiger propellant was very similar to causing fast and might just be causing fast. But who knows? Not me. But I know what my next motor is. And I know, dude, there's been disputes about, people have said that Gary said he would make them, and people have said Gary said they will never make them. But it's the Aerotech N4800 Blue Thunder.
Yeah,
The
it's on my
98
list too.
18,000 case. It's just like bonded directly into the liner. It's one big grain, so you can't ship them. And as far as I know, did anybody other than the Gates brothers fly them?
No.
Yeah, so it was basically just made for Dirk and Eric Gates. I'm sure there was
I have a
maybe
feeling
some
it had a
military
I have
use.
a feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it had some like commercial grade grain geometry.
Yeah. Like the M3700 with the Finisil
Yeah.
all the way up. Yeah. All right, Taylor.
So I guess it's my turn again, I guess. Hold on. So I have the OG single use K250 and K1050, which is sort of an asterisk because those motors are technically available, but they're not really the same motors.
Yeah.
What I want are single use, slap it in, just full K motors, a long burn and a super hard hitting, both white lightning, like we had in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Okay. Here's the thing. You basically do have that in K1050 form, but I know you're going to be like, oh, but it's a baby L. But that is what the L1000 is.
Yeah.
Let's be honest here.
Yeah. I'm just saying I want it to be the K1050.
You're just like, I want it just to be simple, be able to put it in, boom, super hard hitting white lightning motor, but not that one. I've never flown one and I don't want it. If it was available, you wouldn't buy it. You'd be like, oh, well, I have the 2800 case, so why would I
would buy the K250.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
I just feel like a K1050 is such a good partner to the K250 that we need. They're like, flavors that go together. Can we buy a 2-pack?
Oh my god, dude. All right,
The
Paw Star,
fast and
you're up.
slow combo pack and a giant blister pack.
Oh, it's like
Oh,
500. No, it'd be like $600.
yeah. The Gorilla K980,
Whoa.
the Black Lightning.
Interesting to pull out the Gorilla Load. Yeah, that is like a weirdly hot K motor for being a
Yeah.
sparky propellant. Have you ever seen a video of one even?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
There's so little like documentation at all that Gorilla rocket
They
motors
weren't
existed.
around very long.
That's true, but actually somebody commented, or maybe it was in a live stream or a comment on the podcast, said that they still fly with Jim Harris regularly, and that there's like some prospect of it coming back, and that the new person that owns it is like working with Jim Harris to make it come back. So let's get some Gorilla motors back on the table. I could use a
Please.
pretty green snap ring case. Well, I have a couple of them actually. I could use some motors to go in them. Mine, this one's caused some controversy in the past, my fascination with it. The Kazin by Aerotech M1450 White Lightning. It's a motor for the Kazin 7600 case, which also by proxy becomes the AMW 7600 case.
No, that one was made for the animal case, technically.
Are you
That
sure?
was the KBA animal compatible.
I think you're confusing the CTI animal compatible loads with the KVA ones. I don't think animal compatible was ever branded on anything Kazin by Aerotech.
Yeah, they were. So
Are you
like
sure?
the 640, yes, because I got called out for it because I didn't realize it. So the 640, they had the Kazdan by Aerotech by itself were the Kazdan propellants that Aerotech made. So like they had the K700 fast.
That's still very much like the AMW situation, where CTI was making AMW reloads for AMW hardware. Aerotech made Kazin propellant?
Yes,
Because I've seen
but I've
K700
been
fast.
I've been told they were slightly different formula though. I don't, but yes, they also had them for the 640 case, but the 640 case was not like the Kazdan 640 case was not the same as the Animal 640 case, and so
Right.
But yeah, they had KBA loads and then KBA animal compatible loads.
All right, well, fair enough. I guess I don't know as much about it as I thought. Rest in peace.
But yeah, for that particular load, I think you technically would be able to put it in a Kazdan case.
Yeah,
It just wasn't.
the
It wasn't
cases are
certified that
exactly the
way.
same. Actually, when Paul Holmes was the head of the TMT, there was some discussion because of an issue my dad was running into, where he said if you use the nozzle and bulkhead from the manufacturer of the propellant, you can put it in an AMW or Kazdan case and fly it certified because the measurements are exactly identical. We don't need to open that whole can of worms, but what we do need to open is, I know you have brought this up, and I actually bled into some of the Patreon comments and saw somebody making the same argument that the M1450 is basically interchangeable with the M1850, and I am sick of this slander. Okay, it's rant time. Okay, the M1450 burns for like 2 more seconds and has like 200 more Newton seconds total impulse. It's just a way cooler motor. Also, they were so cheap back in the day. I swear they were like $295 when they were new.
Yeah, that sounds
If
right.
Something crazy for a 6-grain XL, sure, like long 6-grain motor. Just brutal white lightningness. For a while, they were the altitude record motor. Like, that's what everybody was going to. So, yes, we missed the M1450, and I've got a call about one that I have lined up to purchase, so I can finally have my M1450.
Because once again, Braden is dangerously low on rocket motors.
It's getting concerning. Yeah, I'm going to need hundreds more, probably. All right, Taylor, you're up.
I'm surprised it hasn't been mentioned yet, but the K1000 and M2200 skid mark.
They were
Those are
just
the
so
two
on the
iconic
nose.
ones.
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that
I
and
feel
the
like those kind of go together.
M2801. Yeah,
Yeah.
like all the long skid mark motors. But I mean, it's like I was telling Postart, I wanted specific motors because it's so easy to just be like, I wish every AMW skid mark would be made again, and I don't disagree with that sentiment. But the K1000,
Yeah. Well, it's sort of like I wish all Blue Baboon motors existed, but like some of them were better, more iconic.
yeah,
Like if
yeah.
I
I
had to
mean,
choose one, it would be the N4000, but
dude,
they're all good.
L1500 too, the 2550 load. I have two of them. Anyway,
L
that's
1300. I think 1300.
is it 1300?
I think it's 1300.
I'm trying to remember because the designation is 100 newtons average off between the red and blue load. I'm pretty sure the red's L1400, so it could be 1300. But either rate, or anyway, it's sick. Postart.
Following up my last one, I have the Gorilla L1065.
Interesting. I like the Gorilla propellant names were fun. Was it Red Tornado? Was the red one?
Yeah.
Red Twister. Oh,
Oh yeah, Red
I
Twister.
think Red Twister. Green Tornado.
Tornado. Oh, that's right. And Black Lightning. Dude, some of the Gorilla Sparkies hit good. But yeah, that takes us back to the whole Gorilla may or may not be returning thing. We can all cross our fingers on that. But mine is one that I can guarantee will never come back because Frank Cosden is no longer with us. But the Cosden M2240 Fast. My dad flew one last year that we had for 10 years, I think. It was supposed to be his level 3 motor 10 years ago. And at that point, Frank Cosden had already passed away. So we have no idea how old it was. But this motor was like what everybody knows as the M1297 to be in like the 90s. The M2240 was everyone's level 3 motor.
Well,
It was
and
just
and the M1130.
yeah.
Is that the slow for the same case?
Yeah, I have one.
Oh my gosh.
Those were the last two motors on my list.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
All right, well, Postart's out then. All right, Taylor. Now it's a game of chess to see who can get a
Yep.
deeper cut.
I mean, I'm kind of used up for motors that I actually give a S about. I mean,
Really?
I'm sure I'm forgetting some stuff, but
Well, let me read you a combo pack of 3 of mine that are on the list that will probably make you upset. You're just not appreciating. I-800, K2045, and 10,000.
oh, I had N10000 on my list. I forgot.
Iconic
Yeah.
motors. Yeah, the N10000, dude, that's gonna be a tough, elusive one. I've lined up the I and the K, but the day an N10000 hits the table, I feel like it's gonna come with a number that I'm like, no, I can't manage. That's stupid.
You're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, and then I'll swipe the credit card and cry about it for 3 months, like I did with the N1560. But yeah, okay, so you don't have anything else? This is why you need to write things down, Taylor. You need to prepare.
I did, but I don't have anything physically on the list that we haven't been over.
Okay, well, let me talk about the one that I have on there that's technically still available. It's going to come as a surprise to nobody, but the CTI M1675 Pink. Let me get a few more of those. I shouldn't have said anything on the podcast where I was like, if Chris Short still has his, I'll probably buy it at Airfest, because then somebody immediately bought it.
Braden wants it, so I'm gonna get it and then tell him about it.
Well, I mean, it was probably more of I want to fly that motor too, and that sure sounded like a if I don't buy it, Braden's going to situation. And I won't lie, the only reason I know is because right after the podcast, I was like, live a little, I'm just going to order it. So it was gone like a week later. So yeah, it's all
So
right.
you did not order it?
No, I've flown two. I don't really need a third. It's like not an outstanding motor performance wise. It's just cool. And I got the deepest cut, I think, right here. Let me see if Taylor even knows. The O2645.
Uh, is that the Gorilla one?
Yes, it is.
The
The
6-inch
Gorilla
long
6-inch Black Lightning. Shippable to Australia, dude. I don't even know how many grains it had, but it was like 50. It wasn't actually like 50, but it was a lot. And someone flew one in Australia. But Gorilla had certified 6-inch snap ring motors. It is so crazy. And I'm sure if they do come back, those motors in particular will be like prohibitively expensive. But we might just have to find a way to make it happen. The new sticker designs better be great because we're going to need to sell like 10,000 of them. All right. Well, did you think of something?
No, not really.
All right. Well, I guess in that case.
Well, I mean, I flew an H410 VMAX and I really liked it, so I wish that was still available.
All right. I mean,
so I don't know. That's all I got.
I'm trying to think of anything else too that's like sort of a. I mean the 3 grain Super Tiger load, the 75 one was also super cool. And then I think the Cosden equivalent was the L1175 fast. Also cool motors. 3 grain 75s, kind of underrated.
Yeah, for real though.
All right, well, I think that's going to do it for us, and we're going to move on to the Patreon mailbag segment. Now, remember, folks, this isn't the fan mail segment that happens at the beginning of the episode. It's different and just stupidly named very similarly. Okay? Sean Cooper says, you nailed it, N10000, N2801, M2200. For me, it's got to be the K2045 VMAX. Luckily, we still have the K2050. I gotta say, it just doesn't, the K2050 doesn't do it for me the way the K2045
Have you
does.
flown one?
No, but I've seen a million of them.
Well, maybe it'd be different if you flew one.
I don't think it would because I haven't flown a K2045 either, but I like them more still.
You just like it because you can't have it.
I can, though. I'm going to fly
You
one.
have one. You have one, but you can't have another.
I just like the flame color better. I don't.
Yeah, you don't like big blue flames?
Well, okay, listen. You mean light washed out purple? Am I right?
Oh my gosh.
It's fine. I like a lot of the other Super Thunder loads, but it's just
I just really like orange flames. They're so cool.
it's cool. It's great. Anyway,
Dude, the blue flame is better.
it's also way more white than I think people give it. Like it's not like white, but like if you look at the N10000 cover photo, like there's a little. It's just nice. All right, it's nice to look at.
I'm not saying it's not nice, but Super Thunder's a pretty good substitute.
Yeah, I guess if it's what we have to have.
The burn rate's almost exactly the same.
Yeah, I guess. Rocket Kyle, I was really hoping Kyle would chime in on this because he's also a very OG teenage Rocket guy. So he says O10000 is obvious. K550 with the Medusa nozzle with the big fat flame. Now that's the kind of content we're looking for in these comments. He says Urinsco had some good Sparkies and red motors in the 90s. This is the kind of deep cut we're looking for. I don't have any idea what that is. Do you?
No, I'd never heard of that.
Now that's going to take us down a path of Googling.
I will say, I not for my purpose, or like not for me personally, but I wish there were hypertech M1000s were still being flown regularly because
Oh,
they're
you
fun
just
to
want to watch
watch.
them?
Yeah. They make
Didn't
fun noises, and I like seeing rocket guys try to run away from the launch pad before the rocket takes off, and then trying to look around their shoulder to see the rocket without falling over. Always
dude?
a good fun one.
Yeah, Vern flew Coldfire at a Tripoli Idaho launch on a 54, and the noise is insane. Didn't somebody try to do their level 3 on an M1000 Airfest last year and it was too hot and it just didn't
Yeah,
work? What happens to,
yeah.
like, do you just burn all the propellant and then you're done?
Uh, I don't really know. I think it's like when that type of thing happens, it's like an injector problem or something.
Huh. Well, Kyle
But
finishes
have you ever
with
seen one Postart?
Not in person, no.
just
You would
that
love
one that
it.
didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You would not believe the noise.
It sounds like
so stupid.
it sounds like a straight pipe power stroke.
Yeah, okay. I've seen a video of one.
No, it sounds
Um,
cooler than that.
I guess.
Yeah.
And that's going on the soundbite board for sure. But Kyle finishes with Vulcan H300 and L750.
Yeah. L750 is iconic, but it was before my time, so I don't really know. Smoky Sam.
Yeah, Kyle's a little more OG in that light than we are, right? I think he was around prior to you and me.
Well, I think his dad flew rockets, right?
That's what I mean. Yeah, so he was there for
Kind
some
yeah,
early
kinda like-
heyday stuff.
of like Joe Hill.
Yep. Oh, actually, Jim Scarpine replied. I'm not sure which one he was talking about to Kyle's comment, but he said, I still have some. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the 90s motors we've never heard of, and Jim just happens to have a few.
Yeah.
Neutronium says, this is the one I talked about earlier. I'm not so sure about the KBA M1450. Isn't it basically the same as an M1850? Now that you've been educated on that subject, we can move on. It's not the same.
I mean, if you saw two of them fly next to each other, I don't think you would be able to tell the difference.
dude, the 1450 burns for so much longer. That's like saying you can't tell
I
the
don't-
difference between an N2000 and N1000.
No, it doesn't burn that much longer.
Okay, an N2000
looking
and
at- I'm look-
4000.
I'm looking it up.
It's like 10 years longer, dude. It burns for like 30
I think-
years longer. He's thrust curving, boys.
Well, for one, the M1850 thrust curve is wrong.
Oh, here we go. Here we go, folks. He's coping.
Well, no, they were just talking about it on the Rocketry forum the other day.
Oh, really?
Because someone put one on a test stand and the thrust curve was a lot different. And then Gary pulled out he's like, that might be the original M1850 before they enlarged the core on the bottom grain for the revision. And so
Okay,
he
burns
posted
for 1.5 more seconds and has almost 200 more newtons of total impulse.
hold on, I'm looking up the real thrust curve so we can.
Oh, here we go. Watch, it's going to be less. Oh, 7,400 newton seconds. Gross. This is riveting content, but I'm going to go
Yeah,
on.
we can
and then
move on, and I'll
revisit.
meet back up with you. Yeah.
He continues, now some of the other KBA motors like the L2300 green or M3500 redline are super appealing to me. Also the Cosden L3000. That sounds like such a wild motor, although it's insane how much more impulse Loki manages to cram into that case. Yeah, it's kind of like the M2240 we were talking about earlier. It's sort of an impressively low amount of total impulse for a 5-grain fast propellant. It was for a fast quote unquote propellant, quite reserved, but it is still just the giant bumpers of the L3000 and the O10000 are super cool. The L2300s are bombs, but I'm supposed to be buying one, and a friend of mine got a few of them. And he's getting better liners for them, so hopefully that'll solve that. And yeah, our friend Jim Scarpine, the M3500, that was like his thing for a while. Because again, it's another KBA motor that was for the 7600 case, and they were super cheap. So you could just do big, long M motors for way less money than other options. What's the update on the thrust curve there, Taylor?
I'm trying to figure out how to send it to you, but it looks almost exactly the same as the M1450.
Well, then maybe it's acceptable. But I just got rid of my 7680 case. What? I don't know. Just what's the total impulse?
Well, it doesn't have that info.
Sounds lower.
I mean, it probably is a little bit lower.
Well, then it's not good enough. Neutronium continues. The death of VMAX definitely led to a bunch of cool motors being discontinued. Here's hoping someone will eventually convince Gary to make a 9815 360 Super Thunder load to replace the N10000. We know it's doable. We know it's possible. I don't know much about them, but Rocket Vision had black powder, high power motors, and they seem really cool. I've seen pictures of H220 Silver Streak night launch. Yeah, dude, all the old Earl Cable videos.
Rocket Flight, not Rocket Vision.
Yeah. Clustering all the Silver Streak motors in like 1992.
It's crazy.
As a kid, I flew a ton of E9s, especially in a 4-motor cluster rocket I built. I've never had one Kato on me, despite the reputation. Yeah, I flew a bunch of them when I was in elementary school, too. My dad and I basically built an upscale Big Bertha, E9s.
Oh, yeah, I like those.
Alex says, CTI VMAX, I want them all back, but if I had to pick one, the venerable K2050. Yep, it's such a good motor. David Bratz, and we're all gonna have egg on our face for leaving this one out. Gotta add the CTI O25000. The fact that was a motor available to amateurs is insane. On the opposite end of the spectrum, Aerotech made a 13mm B and C motors sold through Apogee Components back in the day. They sounded so fun. I remember that. It was fairly recent still, wasn't it? I feel like it wasn't that long ago. You could still buy them.
Well, no, they had B and C motors that went in the 1820 case, but that was in like the 90s, and they didn't sell.
He's talking about the ones that were branded specifically for Apogee.
Oh, they still sell those.
Oh,
the B. Oh, not the 8. Not the.
The 13 I don't know if they
millimeter. Still, yeah, I don't think they still sell those. I forgot that those were a thing.
Clearly. You're disrespecting people. All right? You're going to have to put an end to that. You're going to check the attitude of the door. All right? We know you saw all the cool rocket flights in the world that happen ever. Okay? We get it. Kevin Osler says any VMAX. Jonathan Gabriel says definitely M3500 and K2045. Yeah, the M3500 is cool. It's just... Yeah, that one would be one that I'm like, that's fine to make an M or a 7680 equivalent, you know? Because the M1450 was just always cooler to me. But the average thrust of the M3500 was cool because you got a lot of motor for the price, and then you could fly some big, dumb stuff.
Especially if it would. Because I think the N3300 uses a different formulation of redline that's a little slower. I wish they would use that in the 7680 case. That would be a sick motor. Basically a baby N3300.
Or a giant K1275.
Yeah, however you want to look at it.
Bryson Nicole says the N10000 but 100 Newton seconds smaller. An M10000 that could be flown in California would be so gnarly. Dude. Honestly, if that was on the table, I would consider building like a Tom Cohen style giant rocket that's going to stay under the Lucerne waiver. Just like 1,200 feet. Um, Bob Green says something that would be fun or useful is you could say what the current available in production closest equivalent to the long gun motor is. Sometimes there just isn't, but it would be cool to hear your thoughts. Yeah, I guess we can kind of dwell on. So we talked about the K2050 sort of replacing the K2045. Like for the 3 and 4 grain 98 VMAXs, you have the M4500 and the M6000 from Aerotech as well. We talked about how the M1850 is not quite as good as the M1450, but
So I just sent you both thrust curves on Messenger for you to review.
close enough, I guess, if you are down with that sort of thing. Taylor suggested a somewhat substitute to the long burn eye motor that's also no longer available. M1675, you could do the Loki M1650 cocktail, but you have to have snap ring hardware, and they're kind of expensive. What are some other good substitutes? There's just not for skid mark motors. Sorry, everybody.
No. Super Thunder is a good substitute for VMAX.
The new Super White Lightning kind of has the like a good balance between White Thunder and Sea Star going on.
It's the closest to White Thunder, and then Propellant X for Sea Star.
Oh yeah, good point.
There's not really a good Blue Baboon substitute.
Nah,
I mean, burn rate wise, I guess Super White Lightning would probably be the closest thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the N4800 would be a cool substitute for the N4000 if we could get those, but can't. They probably cost like 20 times as much as well. But yeah, I don't. What else do we have there? I mean, for like smoky motors, everything is kind of interchangeable there, but we didn't really hit on any discontinued smoky motors because, quite frankly, we don't really care. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I guess like those propellants are fairly interchangeable, and for particular motors, just pick grain to grain equivalents and call it a day.
Oh, I forgot. I totally M2250 Sea Star was on my list. My all-time favorite motor. How could I forget?
I'm getting one of those too. But
what? Are you really?
Yeah. You flew them. All right. I need to have my turn.
Was it the one you sent me? Or a different one?
No, it's a different one.
Oh my gosh. This guy. Killing me.
How did I not know about that?
But the M2050 is a fair trade-off for the M2250. The Propellant X.
It is.
For the 5120.
It's just the grain geometry is a little different.
Yeah, and I mean, you could argue that the M1830 basically is the M2250, but it's just not. It's not quite the same.
Well, it's the slower version of Sea Star.
So it's just not the same.
It's not the same.
But yeah, so I had a vendetta out for that specific motor when I built my Nike Smoke when I was 16, and my Nike Smoke got destroyed before I ever flew one. Now I have a new Nike Smoke.
Hopefully you don't get one of the ones that explode.
Yeah, listen, it's been in the back of my mind, but what happens. If I at least get the chance to fly the new Nike Smoke on an M2250, we're gonna give it a shot. And then I'll just blow up my super rare, hard to find Polecat 5.5-inch Nike Smoke and my serial match 75-5120 case that I have the rest of the set of. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Cry a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of it, but it's fine because we fly rocket motor cases. Look at me, everybody. If you have rare motor cases, fly them. All right. Sick of this ass.
Just don't let your friends fly them.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with mine. Where I'm like, yeah, I'll fly them if they die by my hand, then that's fine. But somebody's like, can I borrow this case? And I'm like, ooh, sorry, I only have a Millennium Edition one, and like I'm gonna be the one that destroys it if anybody's going to.
I would still let someone borrow it if it was gonna be like if I can see the whole flight.
That's the ones that are gonna set you up for failure the most.
Nah.
It's just gonna come in ballistic just for funsies.
Yeah, but if it's like a 38, like the case is probably gonna be fine.
Yeah, that's a good point. Final comment for the mailbag segment says, this is UPS Rocket Man. He says, I might be in the minority on this one, but I want the old I-132 and J-125 back. There you go, Taylor. I also want to see the I-350 come back. It has a longer burn and flatter curve than the I-600, but still has all the impulse. Interesting.
They didn't make, I think there was like one run of those. That was
UPS Rocket Man's got the deep cuts.
The single use before Aerotech brought back single use motors like officially. It was in like a translucent fiberglass case.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Dude, I think somebody on the Rocketry forum, it might be Tom Binford. I think somebody has one. They posted a picture of it not too long ago. He says anything AMW, Blue Baboon reigns supreme, and the L1120 for the 5120 case. Do you imagine redesignating the M1297 as the L1120 would just like
I want it so
many
bad.
certs.
Give me a Medusa nozzle L1120.
I should have called you
from L distance.
I should have called you when there was that one on the table. But I was too excited about my M1315 that has a Medusa nozzle. And then when the price was the same for the L1120, I was like, no. And I thought about it. I was like, I should have just done it because it was $200. But we don't need to talk about that. Can't dwell on the past. I still got the M1315, so that's fine. All right, we're going to survive. We have a little bit of time to kill here. Why don't we talk about some fun updates? We know we talked about Postart's level 3 starting to get built. How's that coming?
I haven't touched it since then. I haven't had time.
Taylor, what about your Nike Hercules?
I have not touched it. Listen, the Hercules isn't going to make any progress in this summer. It'll be a post summer project.
All right, Braden, how's the Testo rocket?
The what?
The test rocket.
It's fine. Thanks for asking.
What's the test rocket?
My tube fin rocket to test electronics for the N1000
Oh.
flight. It's good. Nothing drastic happened. I just decided that I, for the sake of potentially flying it sort of head-end deploy in the future, would cut it in half and add a coupler. And there's no further reason for that. Nothing crazy went down that almost resulted in me just throwing the rocket in the trash. That's for sure not on the table here.
Did you throw the rocket?
No, but it was pretty close. Just for fun, though, of course. Not because anything bad happened that I'll tell Taylor about after we record this episode.
Yeah, definitely not because you're a psycho either.
Mike from Lock Precision. I was like, also, because I bought some stuff from Lock and it got lost in the mail. So I was like, also, I need a coupler. And I don't really want to discuss why. And he was like, okay. Now you have to. So he knows. But, yeah, anyway. I think that's
I need a coupler too.
Sucks, dude. You're too late. You should have.
What do you mean I'm too late? You said you were gonna send me one.
Oh, the 5.5. I thought you meant a 4-inch one. Yeah, I'll send it. You gotta pay shipping.
Is it you had to have been joking about the $60 shipping.
No, I said 75. Yeah, I need your new address though. I'll price it out. We can handle this after the podcast.
Yeah. This is what the people want to hear. The deals that go on behind the scenes.
Yeah, the top secret stuff.
I'm getting ready to close on my house this weekend and selling, or the person buying my house, the closing of the house or whatever. I'm going to sell my house, and then I can pay Braden all of the money that I owe him.
Oh yeah.
Which sounds like I borrowed money from him because he's so YouTube rich, but it actually is just a lot of small things that I've been putting off because I've been broke and I knew I was selling the house.
Yeah, so just put it on me for sure. It's definitely YouTube Rich is saving me there. The story's more like, it's not that I borrowed money from him because he's so YouTube rich, it's that I tried, but I found out he's not YouTube rich, so there wasn't anything to borrow. For some reason, he
Well, I did. It makes it sound like I just was like, "Hey, could I borrow like $3,000?" It's like,
yeah, no, and I was like, yeah, here's $10. That's the best you're gonna get out of me. Instead, you
No,
just
it's just
borrowed
like-
a hotel and a motor.
well, multiple motors. It's just me going,
Oh, yeah.
"Yes, I'm gonna buy that. Can you hold on to it for me?"
4, 5, 7, 8 months. You know, something light. Well, anyway,
Well, it's all gonna come to an end soon.
that's gonna be so sick when I have money. It's already pre-spent, ladies and gentlemen, on credit card debt, basically. Anyway, that'll
Hooray!
be. We can discuss that more in the HEG finance episode, where people discover we really should not be buying N motors or flying 12-inch rockets.
We'll show everyone the balance sheet from 2021 and 2022.
That was awesome. All right, well, my name is Braden Carlson. You can find me right here on YouTube at Rocket Vlogs, and you can follow me on Instagram at BigB1011. And if you're a car guy, I'm just going to shout it out. I just launched a website called RevReflection.com because a bunch of outlets were telling me I couldn't write things that I wanted to write. So I took my ball and went home and made my own website instead. So yeah, go check that if you care to.
My name is Taylor, and you can find me on YouTube at the Rocket Channel. And someday there might be a video for you to watch.
Maybe.
My name is Shane or Postart. You can find me on YouTube at Postart Propulsions.
Wait, wasn't there a video you were like working on, Taylor, and was supposedly going to be done? Oh, it's the M685 rocket.
Yeah.
How's that coming?
Dude, just life is the problem.
Well, I apologize to that person that asked for the specifics of your rocket, and you said, "Oh, I'm making a video about it."
I mean, I am. It's just not done yet.
This man's gonna have to wait till next year. Anyway, we are the Anti-Gravity Group. This is the Anti-Gravity Group podcast, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.